Jalen Hurts getting ready for his first full season as the starting quarterback in Philadelphia. He's going to join us live at 8 a.m. to talk about that and more. Another quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, fresh off his third MVP. Is he the QB with the most to prove this season? We got a list for you. And up in New England, how far can Mac Jones and the Patriots go this season? Good Tuesday morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. Jen Wolf and Nick and Broussard and Kevin Wilds. And Kevin Wilds, how about this? Patriots to the playoffs. Are we locking that in right now? Just lock it in?
Oh, and I'm locking it in to the point, Jenna, where I sold my entire set so I could buy some playoff tickets. They just went on sale. So my set is gone, but Kevin's going to the playoffs.
That's all we care about. It is all we care about. Oh, we've got a fun show for you today, and we are going to start this morning out in L.A. talking Rams of all teams. The preseason hype for this team might just be at an all-time high. It has been building up since they traded for Matt Stafford this offseason, and now Peter King, the latest to hop on board, predicting yesterday the Rams will win the Super Bowl. Let me say it again, Rams, Super Bowl. And that they already have a good team, but that Stafford puts them over the top. He said, quote, Sean McVay's been waiting for a guy who can execute everything he wants to call. Take that, golf. King also has Stafford taking home regular season MVP honors. Check this out. Stafford is the leader in yards per game among quarterbacks without a playoff win. So
Look
maybe
at those
he is
greats.
due and overdue. Look at that. Look where Stafford lines up. You like that company. Nick, you buying all this L.A. Rams hype?
So here's the problem, Jenna. I think the Rams are going to be quite good. They were quite good last year. I do think McVay's very smart. Aaron Donald is the best defensive player in football. Jalen Ramsey arguably is the second best defensive player in football. And so I do think the Rams are going to be good. But the Super Bowl, and it wasn't just the Super Bowl that Peter King predicted. He also said, hey, Matt Stafford, gonna win MVP. And then he took it a step further. He was like, hey, with the 17th game, Stafford might throw for 6,000 yards, which is really interesting because once in his career, he threw for 5,000 in a 16-game season. So I guess in game 17, Stafford's going to go for the cool 1K to push it over the top. Like, everyone calm down a beat. I understand. And the other thing, because I get that McVay is excited to have Stafford as opposed to old tiny hands. I understand that. But the other part of Peter King and everyone else's commentary on this is, and Stafford is so lucky to get out of the hell that is Detroit. Matt Stafford was in Detroit when they had Jim Caldwell. Jim Caldwell was there for 4 years. And Jim Caldwell, by the way, won Super Bowl as assistant coach with Indy, coached Indy to a 14-2 season as a head coach. Ran Baltimore's offense when Joe Flacco looked like Joe Montana for a month. So Jim Caldwell, not exactly an offensive slouch. Did he have weapons? Well, he had Calvin Johnson and Golden Tate for 2 of those years together. He had Marvin Jones. He had weapons around him. And he squeezed out more than 9 wins once. So this just idea that Matt Stafford is the one, that list was perfect, Broussard, that full screen. It's like, oh, look at these other guys just totally screwed over by their teams because we just know that Carson Wentz, Jameis Winston, and Trent Green, and Derek Carr, a who's who of who gives a damn. Like, Stafford's a good player. But league MVP, 6,000 yards, gonna win the Super Bowl. Everyone calm down a touch, please.
Yeah, look, what I'm about to say frightens me. I tend to agree with Nick.
He agrees.
I like the Rams, too. We saw yesterday. I picked them to win the toughest division in football right now, the NFC West.
Yeah.
And I think they are a very good team. The defense, as Nick said, should be top 5. They probably won't be number 1 again. That just rarely happens. but they certainly will be in the top 5. McVay is a great coach. We all know that. They've got wide receivers for Stafford to throw to. They've got essentially it all. All right, but I think too much is being put on Matthew Stafford. This is a guy that has made 1 Pro Bowl. This is a guy who in 12 years in the league has never won a playoff game. And again, Nick's right. Everybody blames it on Detroit. All right, but in 2014, when they lost to Dallas in the first round of the playoffs, they had a top 5 defense, and Stafford didn't get it done. In 2016, they only put up 6 points against a pretty good Seattle team that lost in the next round, and they lost that game. Detroit lost to them in the first round. So to think that Stafford is going to go from never having won a playoff game to winning or reaching the Super Bowl over the likes of Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, that's ambitious. That's ambitious. I get it. The arm talent is great. The numbers, I'm going to give the numbers a little more credence than Nick. 1 5,000-yard season, 7 years of 4,000 yards or more. His TD to interception ratio is pretty good, not bad. I mean, the numbers are there. The talent is there. But is he ready in year 1 with all this pressure wilds to take this team to the Super Bowl when he's never tasted victory in the postseason? I think not.
Okay, so while I would love to pile on with the Stafford slander, since when he left Detroit, he said, I will go anywhere besides New England. He really got in my craw. I'm going to say something. Matthew Stafford doesn't have to beat Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. That's Aaron Donald's job. And Aaron Donald is a little bit like Mike Tyson of the NFL, Nick, where everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And we know that Aaron Donald can single-handedly give the Rams a punching chance no matter who they go against. And we've seen it in the biggest games. In the Super Bowl, we saw Patrick Mahomes run for a marathon. He's getting chased around. We saw Brady's undefeated team get chased around by the Giants. We saw Von Miller single-handedly win that game for the Broncos. So I think as long as Aaron Donald, they were second in sacks last year, as long as Aaron Donald is on the field, whatever great offense they run up against, Aaron Donald can neutralize that. And Stafford just has to be good enough. Just has to be good enough. Goff, they had a good year last year, and Goff was so bad they got rid of him. So as long as Aaron Donald is good enough, I buy the Rams hype.
So, listen, and which is why I can't go total heel, the Rams are going to stink, because I don't think they're going to stink. Yep. I think they'll be good for a lot of the reasons you mentioned, and because I do think McVay is a borderline offensive genius, and I like their team. Now, it's early in the year, and unlike the Ravens, fortunately for them, they haven't been stricken by the injury bug already, but they are one of a handful of teams that particularly cannot suffer any major injuries because the way they built their roster, they have no good, cheap players. How do you get good, cheap players? First-round picks. They don't use first-round picks on actual draft picks. They use them to acquire expensive, excellent players. So they're one of those teams that has a really good top 10 players on their roster and then no real middle class. And they're leaning on a 40-year-old left tackle, which does concern me a bit. But one last point on this, Broussard. You know who's not buying the Rams hype? And this is always, whenever I'm like, man, my opinion sure seems out of the mainstream of the media. You know who I like to go to see if they agree with me? It makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. My bookmaker friends in Vegas. Because the whole world is like, oh, my God, Stafford's amazing. Goff's terrible. The Lions last year with Stafford won 5 games. You know what my friends in Vegas say their projected win total is this year? 5 games. And then the Rams won. Okay, well, then what about this effect? The Rams last year won 10 games with Goff. Oh, well, now they have Stafford. What are they going to win? You know what my friends in Vegas say they're going to win? With the added game, by the way, 10.5. So Vegas understands that maybe, just maybe, the Matt Stafford hype train left the station and is taking laps around Ford Field for some reason, but that it's a little overstated, I think.
Yeah, like you said, I'm not going to kill this pick because I like the Rams a lot, all right? I do think some of this is that sometimes people are looking to pick someone other than Tom Brady and Tampa Bay because no team has repeated to win the Super Bowl since 2005. Tom Brady, by the way, with New England. But people are looking for someone else to pick. I think definitively Tampa Bay is the best team in the NFC, and Green Bay is second best. However, I do think in the playoffs, I think the Rams, I think the 49ers, and maybe even the Seahawks could beat Green Bay in the playoffs. So I do think the Rams could get to the NFC Championship. I just think the Super Bowl is a tad ambitious for Matt Stafford in his first time there with the Rams.
But Wilds, you said Stafford just has to be good enough. You know who else was just good enough and got to the Super Bowl? Your guy, Jimmy Garoppolo. So anything is possible in that conference. I will just say that. Nope, not great. Definitely quite okay and very good. Great is a strong word. Hey, that guy's great. Let's switch to the AFC. Talk some Lamar Jackson. Boy, the injuries are piling up in Baltimore. Does Lamar have enough weapons to make a Super Bowl run himself?